Greetings internet, it's Monica, and today I am so excited because I am going to be talking about the books that I am most hyped for summer 2018. I cannot wait for some of these summer book releases. They all sound so fun, so interesting, and yeah, it's just going to be a really good season of books, I think. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the upcoming releases for June, July, August, and then the first week of September. Missing from this video are going to be a couple of the books that I've already mentioned in my beginning of the year, sort of looking ahead to all of 2018 video. I mentioned a couple big releases, so for example the Three Dark Crowns finale was, I believe, in that video, and this time around I've decided to combine both YA and non-YA just to make things easier. So coming out June 5th, and there's actually a couple of these, but the first one is Social Creature, and this is by Tara Burton. This book has been billed as for fans of Gillian Flynn and Donna Tartt. Now, I really am not a fan of Gillian Flynn. In fact, I hated Gone Girl with a burning passion. However, I loved Donna Tartt's The Secret History, and upon reading the synopsis for this, I definitely get some Secret History vibes from the book. Basically, it follows two friends who are sitting on the High Line in New York City, which is sort of this above ground park area in the city. They're sort of watching the stars and just talking about their dreams of becoming famous writers and all the places they'll travel. The two friends are Lavinia and Louise, and you know going into it that Lavinia is going to not fulfill those dreams because she's going to die. And so the story is, I'm assuming, sort of unraveling how she dies, and I think really looks at obsession and toxic friendships through the eyes of sort of this our social media world and how that affects our desires, and I'm just really intrigued for this. Then also coming out on June 5th is another literary mystery book, and that is Still Lives, and this is by Maria Hummel. This book takes place in the LA art scene, and it starts off with Kim Lord, who is this sort of avant-garde artist, and she has created this sort of showing that is her as various women in Hollywood who had been murdered and had a lot of media attention. But before her showing opens to the public, she goes missing. And so the story is about figuring out what happened to her. What really draws me to this book is the fact that it is supposed to be looking at society's sort of obsession with violence, especially violence towards women in our media, and how, and just looking at that and using the sort of story to explore why that exists and just how that manifests in our world. So I'm really intrigued for that, because I do think that sort of violence towards women is something that is I don't want to say fetishized, but it's sort of troubling the way that it's used in media. So I think this will just be a really interesting and thought-provoking read. Honestly, the ideas that it's supposed to explore are what I was hoping The Final Girls by Riley Sager would explore, but that book was awful, so I'm really hoping that this one will be better. Then coming out June 12th is A Place for Us, and this is by Fatma Farheen Mirza, and this is a literary fiction novel. It explores what it means to be both Muslim and American, from my understanding, and it is a multi-generational family drama, and it sort of all circles around one of the daughters is getting married by love and not the traditional way, and so everyone's sort of coming together for this, and I'm really intrigued for this. I love a good family drama, and I am also really intrigued just for the idea of how it's going to look at sort of how a family copes with, having their traditions while also being part of modern America. Then on June 26th, a YA anthology comes out that I am so excited for, and that is 1,000 Beginnings and Endings, and this is edited by Ellen O and Elsie Chapman, and I believe I talked about this in a video recently, but I don't know which one. It might have been my most recent reading vlog. Yeah, actually that's what it was. It was in my most recent reading vlog, because I got it in that. And I was so excited that I was able to get my hands on this one a little bit early so that I could read it this month for Asian Pacific American History Month. But this has 15 different authors, Asian authors, writing short stories inspired by fairy tales and folk tales from their own cultures. So in here you have Korean writers, Punjabi, Chinese, Filipino, Vietnamese, South Asian, Chinese, Japanese. So yeah, there's a wide spectrum of authors who have come together for this book, and I'm so excited for it. I love learning about Asian mythology because it's not something that I feel like I got a lot of I got none of in school, to be honest. We had like an entire like course devoted to like looking at Greek and Roman mythology, but nothing about Asian mythology. Classic. So I'm really excited that books like these are coming out and being picked up by people. So yeah. Also on June 26th is a YA contemporary that just sounds really fun, and that is Your Destination is on the Left by Lauren Speiler. This book just sounds really interesting. It follows a young girl who lives sort of constantly on the road with her family. They live in an RV and they're constantly going from place to place. And so this is about her wanting to be an artist and sort of find her place in the world and figuring out if she wants to be this person who is constantly traveling versus someone who is more stagnant and like builds a life and puts down roots. So I'm really intrigued for this one just because I had a little taste of living sort of out of a suitcase. Definitely not what she had experienced, but like I know for me that was always something that like I saw as like the ideal, to always be going and to always be traveling, and I learned very quickly that that was not the life for me. And so I'm very intrigued just to see like what it would be like to be growing up like that. Now we're gonna jump all the way to basically the end of July 24th, and this book is one that I honestly like. When I saw the cover and the title, it like was not one that I was excited for, and then I started reading reviews for it, and people are loving this book. Like the early reviews for this book have been so amazing, and the book is Scream All Night by Derek Millman. This is a YA horror book, which does not sound appealing to me at all. The premise is that our main character, Dario, when he was younger, grew up living in this like castle that his father, who's this like really famous director of like B-level like horror films, he would direct all of his like monster movies in this castle. And so Dario grew up in this castle, which like once I heard that, I was like, okay, this actually sounds very interesting. But the story apparently is this mixture of both like, of course there's, I'm assuming like horror elements in it, but people are saying that it's hilarious, like laugh out loud funny, but also like incredibly emotional. From my understanding, there are trigger warnings for child abuse. I'm assuming that they are going to explore abuse in the book because Dario was emancipated from his father, and so the story follows him going back to sort of reconnect with his family, and then things start occurring. I'm not really sure what, but it sounds really, really interesting, and I'm really glad that I ended up like actually looking more into it, because if I had just looked at the title and the cover, I wouldn't have really been interested. But once I heard the premise and like heard other people's reactions to it, I just like knew that I needed to read this book, so I'm very excited for it. Also coming out on July 24th is City of Islands by Callie Wallace. This book just sounds so magical and lovely. It is a middle grade fantasy story. The book follows Mara, who loses both of her parents and then lives with a teacher who is meant to be teaching her magic, but then her teacher also ends up passing away. And so she ends up becoming orphaned and living with the Lady of Tides, and she goes on like diving excursions for the lady. She ends up discovering this like skull that looks like a creature that she has never seen before, and she brings it to the lady, and the Lady of Tides ends up sending her on this quest to figure out what the skull is. I don't know. I feel like I'm not doing a very good job of describing this book, but the book itself, I feel like the synopsis is very vague and doesn't really give out like what kind of magic is happening in this world or anything along those lines. However, the reviews for this book make it sound really magical, whimsical, and it just sounds like a very lovely story. So I'm excited for it, even though I'm like not 100% sure what it's about, if that makes sense. I don't know. Coming out July 31st is Heart of Thorns by Brie Barton. And this book actually like wasn't super high on my radar, and then I read the reviews of it, and a lot of the like really negative reviews of it are basically like it was okay but it was too feminist, and I was like, so you're saying I'm gonna love it? Basically, in this world, only women can do magic, but they are being hunted because they are able to like manipulate bone, breath, etc. And they're not even considered, these like women who do magic are not even considered like humans anymore. And so the story follows Mia, who has sort of pledged her life to hunting these women, monsters, whatever, because her mother was murdered by one. But at the beginning of the story, her father ends up pledging her to be married to the prince, and so takes off from there. Also coming out July 31st is The Incendiaries by R.O. Kwan. This story sounds really interesting. The book follows Phoebe, who is in college, and after the loss of a loved one, she ends up like just becoming very grief-stricken, and in her sort of like emotional distress ends up getting involved in this like extremist cult that has ties to North Korea. And I'm just intrigued. I've never heard of a book similar to this, and yeah, I'm just like, that I think intrigued is like the best word for it, because I'm like, I don't know what this could be about. It's a literary fiction story, so I'm assuming it's not like thrillery at all, but it just sounds very fascinating. I don't know. Then coming out on August 28th is Darius the Great is Not Okay by Adib Karam. I just want to read the first line of the synopsis because it sounds amazing. Darius Kellner speaks better Klingon than Farsi, and he knows more about Hobbit social cues than Persian ones. And this is about Darius as he is going on his first trip to Iran. So this story deals with Darius feeling like he'll never be enough either in America or Iran, and just sort of trying to, have a foot in both cultures, and how in a lot of ways that tends to isolate you from all cultures then, which is something I definitely relate to with like Korean and American stuff. And during all of this, and also his trip to Iran, he's dealing with his own depression, his like disapproving father, and it just sounds like a really great contemporary. I'm really excited for this one, and I think it'll be a really important sort of addition to the world of contemporary. Also, the cover is beautiful. Then also coming out on August 28th is Seafire by Natalie C. Parker. This one sounds amazing because it is an all-female pirate revenge story. It was like honestly all I needed to know in order to want to purchase this one. It just sounds so fun. I love pirates. I want some more pirate stories. Like that was like my favorite part of the Shadow and Bone series, were like the pirate elements of it. And I was like, I just want this. Speaking of the Nikolai book, so hyped for that. That's not coming out in the summer. That'll be in a future video. But every time I think about it, my heart flutters because I love Nikolai. This will mean nothing to you if you have not read Shadow and Bone, but very excited. Then coming out on August 28th is City of Ghosts by V.E. Schwab, or Victoria Schwab, I guess, because it's middle grade, but I'm so excited for this. This is quite shorter than I thought it was going to be, but that's fine. This book takes place in Scotland. It is a middle grade paranormal story, and it's about ghosts. Cass's parents are like sort of not very great ghost hunters, and Cass is actually able to see ghosts. In fact, her best friend Jacob is a ghost, and her family ends up uprooting their life and moving to Scotland so that her family can hunt ghosts there, and she makes friends with another girl who can also see ghosts, and it's about her adventure in Scotland. I'm assuming some shenanigans occur. I just love Victoria Schwab. I will read anything she writes, and I am very excited for like a good paranormal story. I'm really excited for the day when like paranormal becomes like trendy again. Like, give me a good vampire ghost story. Like, I'm here for it. I'm excited. I am ready. And then the last book on my most anticipated summer 18 list is And the Ocean Was Our Sky by Patrick Ness, with art by Rowena Kai. I am so hyped for this book. This is a new book from Patrick Ness, obviously, but it's in the style of A Monster Calls, where it is him telling the story, but then also an artist illustrating it. And I'm so excited. A Monster Calls was one of my favorite books of all time. This one sounds so fascinating. It is a retelling of Moby Dick from the perspective of the whale. and I'm ready for the whale feels. So yeah, this is the one book that I was like, it comes out September 4th, and I was like, I could wait and put this in my most anticipated fall video, but like I want to talk about it now because I'm so hyped for it. Patrick Ness is one of my absolute favorite writers, and I am so hyped that he has a new book coming out because I'll read everything and anything he wants to write. Anyways, those are some of the books that I am most excited for this summer. If there are any books that you think I've missed, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Help me build out my most anticipated list on Goodreads even further. I will link down below also to the 2 Goodreads lists that I am sort of constantly updating of like my most anticipated reads for this year. So in case you want to check that out or add any of these to your own Goodreads, you can do that. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a like. And if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe. If you've already subscribed, you can click the little bell icon and that will send you notifications anytime I upload. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!